Hello, everybody. Welcome to show number 584. It's just shortly after 1 o'clock here in San Francisco, where it has
stopped raining.
It has indeed. It has stopped raining. Thank God.
For a whole day.
For a whole day. And what are we going to do? We're going to get some more rain tomorrow?
A little bit in the afternoon.
But we're done, right? The high pressure, the weather's back with us. The good weather is back with us, right?
Yep.
One can only hope. Thanks for joining us, everybody, for show 584. A lot of people on here already. You got John Emmett on. And is Emmett? Yeah, he's Villamora. He's got a couple tapes for us today. Thierry de Jong is down in SoCal. Gordon Smith in Denmark. David James. It has stopped raining. He's saying over in Sausalito on the other side of the bridge. Joe Holtzman in snowy Colorado. Alistair down under in Brisbane, in Melbourne. Greg Phillips is in Brisbane, or he's on the Gold Coast anyway. Peter Taylor in New York City. Clark Chapin, greetings from gray, overcast, and very California-like Plymouth, Michigan. We're going to have a little note about Clark Chapin. A Bravo Zulu for him at the end of the show and the closing focus today. Fritz Mueller in sunny Miami. Ken Saban saying, hello, Miss Julia.
Well, how nice.
That is nice. That's what your morning caretaker lady calls you, Miss Julia.
Absolutely.
I just can't call it. So that gets us to the pre-start. The Toronto Island Sailing Club. I love this photo. I think we'll keep using that for a bit. And we will keep on. Hello, Des Stollard. There's a new name. Des Stollard. Where are you, Des? Tell us where you are. Nice to have you on here. And Des checking in. He's saying morning, so he must be here maybe on the West Coast, maybe down in Oz or in Auckland, as I move around to get my headset plugged back in so I can hear what the hell is going on, Julia.
Well, it's about time. Yeah.
Well, it was plugged in. I've still got this music going. I think we can turn that off. He's in Melbourne as well. He's down there with maybe one of Alistair's friends, Ted Ryman in Cape Town, and so on and so forth. Welcome again to the show. That's the cover slide from the other day when we had Brian and Hamish with us. I want to thank them very much. That show got a lot of views, a lot of comments. It was a terrific show.
It was.
And did you enjoy it as much as I did?
Absolutely.
I got the nicest note. We mentioned him during that show from Dave Perry. Mm-hmm. This was our Friday show, 583. And Dave, we get notes, letters. I don't run a lot of them. Greg Phillips saying, yeah, it was a great show. Thanks, Greg. Dave Perry, who is an esteemed sailor, match racer, guru of young sailers. I mean, he's been a Pied Piper and a rules guy extraordinaire. And David, who's went to Yale and is longtime member, calls Pequot Yacht Club in Southport, Connecticut, his home. And he wrote, "Hey, Tom, I just watched the show with Brian and Hamish. Really good. So cool to be reminded of the origin of so much that is still going well. Umpiring is only growing, as you know. I was just at a 2v2 master team racing event in St. Pete down in Florida in J70s. And there were 4 umps in 4 separate boats, a couple of college kids riding along, but they made it so we could have some intense, close action racing. Wouldn't be possible without umpiring. He goes on to say, I didn't realize Joran Peterson, the former president of World Sailing when it was ISAF and one of the original umpires as well. He said, I didn't realize he was also a hockey ref. I'm sure I've told you that you are the only hockey ref that was the reason I went to a game. I went to the Beanpot, which is a famous tournament in Boston between Harvard and Northeastern and BC and BU, Boston College, Boston University. And he went to that Beanpot tournament back in the day when I was reffing, when you were reffing, Tom, just to watch you ref. And I was impressed. Well, I can tell you, Julia, that back in the day, he watched a game or two at the Yale Whale, which is the big arena there in New Haven where Yale plays their home games, because I used to get called in to do the Harvard-Yale game. And I don't know if they thought I was a good ref or if the coaches liked me because I was a sailor, and they were both sailors, Billy Cleary at Harvard.
That would be reason enough.
And Tim Taylor at Yale. But I can tell you that Dave Perry and a few others, sailors, would get, shall we say, relaxed, and they'd show up at the arena and get more relaxed, drinking beer in the arena, and then shouting, hey, ref, you suck, you're terrible. And of course, in those days, we didn't wear helmets. This was before referees wore helmets.
Yeah.
And we sprayed our hair so it wouldn't move around, blow around, and you wouldn't look like a crouton while you're skating up and down the ice.
Yeah.
So I guarantee you that Dave Perry was there not to watch me ref, but to abuse me, along with
and enjoy it.
And enjoyed every minute of it. But it was good fun. But on a serious note, he finishes by saying, I can listen to Brian think all day, and it's true. Brian is so articulate, isn't he? And
he
so
is.
Thoughtful. And
yes.
And he said, I am so aligned with his view on things, and it's impressive the impact he's had on the rules and judging. And thanks for the shout out to Dave we did about sportsmanship, because he has been a leader of men and women and youth in our sport on rules compliance, on sportsmanship, on having fun. Mm-hmm. And a terrific guy that he is. Wow, Steve Adkins is saying you were what? I was an a-hole? What do you say? Athletic skater. Yeah, no, I played hockey all my life and refereed college hockey and Division I college hockey. And the Final Four. Replying to Clark Chapin running a stop sign, and I imagine speeding. After all, it was a seat. I don't know what that's all about.
Oh, because earlier, Larry Ellison has been ticketed while driving.
I saw that Ellison got a ticket out in Hawaii where he owns the island. He still got ticketed, which is good.
Yeah.
Equal justice for all, unlike what some would say about Washington, D.C. Morris Stevens, good afternoon, all, from a rainy and damp Halifax, Nova Scotia. Stingray saying he was enjoying that music. Well, I think that music has clicked off when I advanced the slides. Mm-hmm. Thanks, Dave Perry. Happy New Year to you, sir. We'll get David on here. He's been on the show once or twice. He's a Fozy.
Yep.
When he was at one of these U.S. youth match racing national championships. And a terrific guy that he is. And thank you, David, very much for writing in. Do you know what day it is, Julia?
It must be Popeye's Day.
It is the birthday of Popeye. It's International Popeye Day. The most famous sailor in the history of the world. Remember that cartoon?
I'm too old for it.
Well, it was a cartoon. It was I remember, we grew up with it, but it was latter-day Popeye. We're celebrating Popeye Day on January 17th. Popeye made his debut appearance in a comic strip called Thimble Theater. Is it Elsie? I guess it's Elsie Chrysler. E.C. Seeger created it on January 17th on this day in 1929, so he's almost 100 years old.
Yeah.
94 years old. The comic was originally centered around olive oil, but the popularity of Popeye changed that. By 1933, Popeye had his own cartoon series, I Am What I Am.
And that's all I am.
It's the first cartoon with Popeye as the main character. Fleischer Studios released the cartoon between 33 and 42. Even after a century, or nearly so, Popeye remains one of the most popular comics ever produced. And I submit that he is the most famous sailor in the history of the world.
He probably is.
Who's more famous, Dennis Conner, Columbus, Magellan?
No.
Captain Cook?
No.
Or Popeye?
Popeye.
Here's a famous sailor. Here we'll cover, this is breaking news. Thanks, Ted Ryman, for sending this along, but some breaking news here. You know who that is?
Ratcliffe, yeah.
Sir Jim Ratcliffe, billionaire and owner of Ineos, the number of Ineos properties, including some sporting properties.
Yeah.
And on Sky News, this just before we went to air, billionaire Sir Jim Ratcliffe confirms interest. He hasn't actually bought it. I may have gotten a little ahead of myself in the show notes at the top of the show, but the club has was effectively put up for sale by its American owners, who everybody in the UK thinks are croutons, the Glazers, and put up for sale by its American owners last November, to the relief of many fans who have long accused the Glazers of failing to invest in success.
Aha.
So Mr. Ratcliffe, Sir Jim, has confirmed his interest in buying it. The 70-year-old chemicals firm Ineos announced it had formally lodged interest with the club's current owners, the Glazer family. Now, get this. This was the last paragraph in this Sky News article, Sky News Biz. Mr. Ratcliffe is no stranger to big sporting investments, and look at the ones they mention. He also owns cycling team Ineos Grenadiers, the League One side Nizza, who he took over in 2019, and Football Club Lausanne Sport, a Swiss Super League club. Do you see any mention, Julia?
No mention.
Of Ineos Britannia?
No.
Or Ineos Mercedes? He's not really a big owner. He is a third owner of that. But you would think maybe they would have mentioned Ineos Britannia, the famously good America's Cup team. But no, soccer and cycling. That's an article by James Sillers, Sky News Biz today. Mm-hmm. Thanks again, Ted Ryman, for sending along that link. And I just want to say again that when the Fozy send me links, if you can, send them more than an hour or two before the show. But I do my best to put in, especially breaking news or really interesting stuff.
Yeah.
And without the Fozy, Julia.
Oh, yes. We have a worldwide reporting team.
We do. Reportage. It's the Associated Press of sailing.
Yes.
Or the Reuters of sailing. And thank you all very much.
Absolutely.
And I know that increasingly other shows, other websites, are watching what we run here, and then they go,
pick it up.
They quickly go and get the links and so on and so forth. It gets us to, my sound up? Yes, I love that cannon. It gets us to the starting line. This shot from this year's, or last year's, but the current, most recent edition of the Rolex Sydney to Hobart Yacht Race. And then, of course, as usual, we like to start with John Emmett. The Coach's Corner. We have two videos from John today, his usual report, and also the latest from Villamora, where he is coaching. John Emmett.
Hi, Tom, Julia, and all the Fozy, and we continue our smarter goals, and T is for timed. So now is a very good time to like, comment, and most importantly, share, so as many people as possible can watch the show live. Really happy to answer some questions that pop up during my little segment, because smarter goals are very important. And T for timing is especially important. All things which happen in life, whether they're good or bad, can take a lot of time to development. If we look at the real world, so to speak, outside the context of purely sailing, if we look at the pandemic, it took a lot of time. When we think back, you know, some young people arguably lost 2 years of their life. That was maybe 20% if they're sort of 10 years old or something. If they're 20, it was something like 10% of their life disappeared, that most important social aspect of university. It was difficult times for a lot of people. But the timing, you could see what was going to happen. The scientists, and I recently watched Don't Look Up, and I think Satar, there's quite a bit of truth in there, unfortunately. The scientists were really clear about the iron numbers and the way that things spread. Andrew McGovern did a fantastic bit earlier, but the evidence is really clear. So it's like saying seatbelts don't help you if you don't wear them. Well, I like to think Fozy are pretty intelligent people, and most of them would actually know how to fit a mask, for example, if it was uncomfortable. But anyway, going back to the R numbers, over time, you can see how it's going to develop. We look at the Ukraine war, which is another tragedy going on. It feels like, you know, it's a really difficult time for humans at the moment. And, you know, we will watch that and see what happens over the next 6 months. I would imagine there'll be quite a lot of progress, actually. And, you know, it's really sad, but good or bad things, we can't shut our eyes to the problem. And actually, everything worth achieving in life is really going to just need hard work. It's that simple. So T for timed is about putting an appropriate time frame for things. So, you know, people thought the pandemic was going to go in 6 weeks. They were obviously wrong. People thought you know, if it was going to be a big thing in 6 years, thankfully, they will be wrong too, I believe, at least in terms of COVID-19. But with sailing and performance, we need to make sure we put the appropriate time frame. So in the Olympic context, you cannot expect to be winning Olympic medals in your first year as a full-time sailor. But if you put an appropriate time frame there, maybe it's possible. And we're going to come on to why it's important to set challenging goals later on. But having the appropriate time can make a huge difference. And this goes right back to the beginning where we said the goals need to be specific, they need to be measured, they need to be agreed, and need to be relevant. And the big thing with the time element, that is one of the things that can be very clearly measured and written down. And we need to make sure we write it down because there's a big difference. Perhaps the easiest one to measure, I said a few times, is fitness. Of the fitness goals that you can achieve in 6 days, 6 weeks, 6 months, or even 6 years. And it's that consistent effort, which I think is true for a lot of things in life, which makes the huge difference. So once again, if you haven't liked and shared, please do so now. I'm going to be here to answer any questions people have. We're getting to the end of our smarter goals. And after that, I think it's going to be time to grow.
Time to grow.
Mm-hmm.
Do you write your goals down?
No.
How do you keep track of them?
I may have, say, 1 or 2 for a year, and I don't have to write them down.
Well, okay. I have to write my kind of to-do list down every day.
Oh, that's a different thing.
And goals is part of that. But, you know, systems. Baton Rouge is watching. I just saw a new name here. I want to welcome Gianfranco Colombo. I think we've seen that name before. Welcome, Gianfranco. Clayton Embley is joining us. I know that some people say, why do you read all these names? Because the FOSI are the reason we do this show. The FOSI make this show, and we appreciate all the FOSI, including especially John Emmett, who has a second video today. Have a look. From Villamora. He's going to feature a Canadian who won today's race.
Hi, I'm Ben Farrer and it's quite cold at the moment, but it's been a good day sailing. I'm Torquay in the UK at the moment, but I sail for Canada. It's warmer than it is back home, but it's still a bit cold out there. but I mean, I think I do most of my sailing out of Villamora. It's pretty windy. 3 races. Yeah, good fight with a lot of boats, really. Don't know, I think probably 20 knots or so, maybe more, maybe 25. It's, but yeah, there's certainly some lows. Probably the lowest was probably 18 or so. So good range though. I don't have any goals or expectations. I mean, it's my first event ever in the radial, so you know, it's just good to get racing, and you know, it's better to be racing against other boats than to, you know, be out training on your own.
Great. Well, I hope you've enjoyed yourself. It's been a good couple of days racing, and I'm sure you want to go and get changed.
Yeah, thanks, John.
I think this guy's got to set some goals, even though he has low expectations because it's first time training with this crowd.
Mm.
Come on, John, you got to get on him about his goals and expectations. Nice guy, and apparently did quite well today, so he's modest and humble, typical Canadian. David James saying, boy, these sail controls on the Ilk are so much better than they were on the Laser 35 years ago. Gordon Smith asking, John, I'm sure will respond, why is it called the Coaches Regatta? Are the coaches racing, or have they chosen the participants? John Emmett, he is coming out in the rib with me tomorrow. I guess that sailor is. Okay, that's interesting.
Mm.
People liking the music. Interesting comment up there above. You know, I read the comments from the bottom up.
Yeah.
Clayton Allen Embley saying, set your goals so high that you can never achieve them. That's, you know, that's an interesting thought. Apparently that's a Ted Turner quote. He's certainly been successful. John Emmett now replying, the coaches are organizing it. That meaning the so-called Coaches Regatta. That's John Emmett sailing. Get to the front of the fleet. Appreciate John's submissions. He's reminded everybody to please like, follow, and share. Julia does that as well.
Always.
Why is that important?
But because people miss out on it, and then they say, well, why didn't you tell me that before?
Exactly. And John, I've just shared it during those videos to my own page because we're not co-streaming it to my personal Facebook page, even though I've got 5,000 plus followers there. Something like 7,000 followers. But John says, please share to your own, if you do it right now, please share it to your own Facebook page. Would be much appreciated. So we're going to talk about the ocean race, which started on Sunday. That's the theme of today's show, as you will have seen in the promo. But somebody asked me, what does Julia do over there? Julia, I got a close-up on your table there.
Yes.
You've got 2 monitors. What do you have there in front of you? And what are those buttons behind your coffee mug?
Well, yes, that I'm monitoring the comments
On your right, on the computer on your right.
on the computer on the
And
right.
then making a comment from time to time, pithy as though it may be.
Yes, and just watching for what's happening.
You're
and
watching for croutons in
Yes.
case there are idiots that come on and you can block them. What's going on over there on your left monitor?
that's monitoring the program that's going out.
So that's live feed.
That's live feed.
You got live audio in your headset and obviously
Right.
your microphone. What's behind your coffee mug? You got a couple buttons there, one of which I chastise you for not using.
Yes, I have a
Move your
cough-
mug so they can see it.
Oh,
Thank you.
It's a cough switch.
A professional cough switch. When you push it, it cuts your mic.
Yes.
You got a little volume control next to that for your headset, so Julie can control her own situation over there, right?
Right.
Okay, somebody asked me, so there we go. Julia controls the trap door on the Sailing Illustrated stage.
That too, but don't tell anybody.
Don't tell anybody. Well, I'm going to bring the camera back from there to the camera 2 Norm with our remote control PTZ pan, which means the camera going side to side, tilt, which is old TV for up and down, and zoom.
Yes.
Zooming in, it's camera 2 over there behind us. SI is a crouton-free zone. It's surprisingly so, Fog Machine. It's so amazing. We rarely have anybody that come on. Hi, Julie Aarons. Everything worth doing takes time. I make lists with to-do list and time frame to complete daily, short-term and long-term goals. Ben Nichols is cheering for GBR. I wonder, it must be related to GBR 219,894. Yeah, I do a very simple, what's my list, you know, there's lots of different ways of doing your to-do. I didn't mean to get into this, but I do a 1-3-5 list. I have one top goal each day, which is today is to present 584. finish it and then present it. Then after the show, sharing it is the next important thing. I got to order some stuff for my mother down there. But I just wrote down there from Graham Sweeney, who said, Emmett's Emanations. And I like that. But I have a page, 135, one top item, 3, second tier items, and 5 minor items, and checking them off.
Yeah, and you
Plus,
do that. And you've done it for years.
I have done that for years and years. But the other thing is it then gives me a record of what I did. Because I check them off, and I can go back, and if I don't do it, I circle it, meaning I got to move it to the next day or forget it, or cross it out and forget about it. But it's a simple list somebody showed me a long, long time ago. And then anything else that comes up, I write down there, like the Graham Sweeney thing, and I'll afterwards look at it and say, I got to put that into the show on Friday. That nice comment.
I did that while I was working in the office years ago, and then I gave it up.
Well, you're entitled. Ted Ryman says, I do shopping lists and lose them by the time I get to the shop. Well, I do a shopping list, but I do that with Siri. Hey, Siri, add thus and such to my shopping list. But why are we getting into this? Let's talk about sailing and yacht racing and carry on here with show 584. Oh, Siri's talking back to me. Uh-oh. Thank you, Siri. That's a pain in the ass. We are celebrating the ocean race today that started on Sunday in Alicante, inside the Med, south of Spain. And I'm going to run this video again with the race course because I think it's such a good video showing not only the course the yachts are taking, but sights and maybe not so much the sounds, the sights of the various venues, the stops around the world, at least for the Imoca 60s, because the VO 65s, as you all know, are not only going port to port in Europe. Have a look. I should voice that for people who are listening to this rather than watching it, but it's a terrific video.
It is a good one.
And David James is asking, has anyone been to Cabo Verde? It looks beautiful. Have you been there, Julia?
By it, but not in it.
Jody Shields, hi, Tom. I'm not sure if you're going to talk about it, but what is everyone's thoughts on the coaches in Sail GP being able to talk to the sailors during the racing? Okay, let's talk about that when we get to Sail GP. Remind me, Julia, if I forget. Thank you, Jody. That's a good question. And a lot of other sports, obviously, they can talk to their players. Fog Machine saying, one night out and some of the IMOCAs are having injuries and sail failures. I hope they get it together. Well, we predicted, a lot of you predicted, and I did as well here, that they were going to have some problems in this event with these Imoca 60s, these super foilers. And let's look at the video, this first video that also got released today about the first couple days of the race. And I think it's cool.
Amazing. Let's do it.
Okay, move on, move on.
We had a bit of a sloppy start, but we managed to get back into the fleet. 2 boats behind us, 1 right next to us.
Now the tough part will start, but now we're going upwind in a lot of breeze, so we'll be bouncy today.
And we had an issue with the tiller and the port rudder. Sorry, I eat at the same time that I speak to you.
Push down. Okay.
Yeah, that's okay.
I think it's not broken, but I can see where it hit.
Shit happens sometimes.
I think so far it's been a pretty tiring night. I think we've done about 10 different sail changes, and it's basically been inshore racing but all overnight. You know, we're already starting to feel the bounciness of the waves. You can feel the swell starting to roll in, and then that's kind of telling you that the bigger wind's going to come. So
I'm trying to edit, but the screen is just going from side to side. It's really hard to see anything. Actually starting to feel a little bit seasick. Never had that before, but
Seasickness?
Yes. Day number 2.
It's pretty rough. A lot of stamping and upwind waves. It's always nice. Just put a second reef. Oh, just put a second reef in. Looks pretty feisty out there. Look at that.
I'm a bit disappointed right now after all the work to get to the start line in the past weeks. Our mainsail ripped. Anyway, it puts us in a tough situation because now we cannot repair it.
Motion on the boat's pretty heinous. Getting a bit windy out here now. Take one in, it should go left, we come back in.
He will cross ahead. Go. I can tell you when it feels about right.
We have no mass rotation?
No.
Jake, race.
No, it's 3, 2, 1. Let's go.
Should we put safe ties on the plane? Everything's good? That's right.
Okay, it's about.
Be easier for you.
Yeah, exactly.
What was that?
So currently we're at Gibraltar Road, entering the strait, looking at pretty strong headwinds and currents as well.
So we've got some carbon, we've got our mainsail that's flapping, and we need to try and make shift small battens just to stop the leech flapping. At the moment it's not a problem, but if the mainsail rips and breaks from flapping, then it could be a long way home. Max, je pense.
I went through one package. I don't need it anymore now. Well, fingers crossed, but let's enjoy the moment.
Yes. Here's Tarifa. So we through the Strait of Gibraltar, and now we still have to deal with some fish farms and shallow spots, traffic. But yeah, we are through the first big landmark of the race.
What do you think of that, Julia? Huh?
They're all crazy.
Well, I don't think they're crazy. Remember, they sail these boats, the Imoca 60s, around the world single-handed.
I know.
And we followed that, and not everybody gets around, and not everybody will get around in this race. Clark Chapin saying, you want to make a bet right now, how many are going to get around? Who's got 0? Ken Saban in Toledo, Ohio. I sailed on the backside of Hurricane David. I thought that was crazy. This is even more crazy. Stingray saying, praying for all on board. These boats, holy smokes. And, of course, the VO65s are only going leg to leg within Europe. So they're going to get down to Cape Verde, and then they're going to stop, go back up to Europe. And I think our Fozy, Andrew Pindar, is helping get them shipped around from port to port. And we'll see how that all goes. But Clayton Embley saying, I think that you probably get immune to something going bang in the night. That's a good point.
Yes.
Jody's saying, I think I would rather put a burning stick in my eye than do that. Looks crazy. Julie Aaron, seas look pretty rough. I'm getting a little woozy just watching it. I don't know how those folks manage. Well, the girl, you saw the gal, I guess that was the end of her Dramamine or Bonine or whatever she was taking, scopolamine something. That's insane. Well, It's extreme sailing, as Stingray says, and up there a little higher, Gordon thinks they should be wearing their helmets. Well, this is the ocean race, and if it weren't pretty tough, you would they call it it's climbing Mount Everest of sailing, of yacht racing.
I noticed earlier too that William Haynes said the leader of the Golden Globe race is about 2 weeks out from Cape Horn, with the other competitors strung out back to Hobart.
Hobart, yeah, I've been following that race, and maybe we should. And obviously Bill is following it, Bill William Haynes. But there's only so many races, and that's a bit of an amateur race and less. But it's it's
but
still
to
a race.
check in and out.
Yeah. Now, just to explain, you see here at the end of this video, there is the ocean race. And by the way, not only is Andrea Tagliamaco still, I texted with Andrea finally this morning. Our longtime friend Fozy did a couple of America's Cup campaigns with Andrea. But also Mirko Grossner, I think I mentioned to you, is working as a senior serious guy in the ocean race, helping with the venues and sponsorship and so on.
Is he?
They're in tough shape with sponsorship. They don't have an event sponsor like Volvo.
Yeah.
So they're relying on, I think that's one of the reasons why Jody was asking, why is there not more, content? Why do they have computer voices? Some of these are computer voice, and I think it's just a lack of funding. We've talked about that. So here's the deal. They have this channel. You can subscribe to it. It's called The Ocean Race, and their YouTube channel. Then they have another ocean race channel called Off the Boats or Off the Yachts or something. And it's a separate channel that has, again, I won't call it a fire hose of content, but what you just saw was various edited together, various clips, pieces from various off the boat segments.
Mm-hmm.
And then they are issuing once per day, at least while racing's on from port to port, a race report, a daily report. And here is today's. I guess I'll voice approaching the Strait of Gibraltar, the VO65s, and the local experience challenging conditions. Amber Sail 2 gamble to the south did not work, and they rejoined the fleet with no gain or loss. See them crisscrossing upwind. With wind speeds of up to 55 knots and boat-breaking waves, crews fought hard to stay safe and remain competitive.
Motion on the boat's pretty heinous. Getting a bit windy out here now. Take one in, it should go left, we come back in.
Through the night, the 11th Hour Racing Team and Team Holcomb PRB stayed close to the shore. For now, Team Holcomb PRB lead, and over the coming days, conditions will improve and speeds will increase. Well, a bit get going downhill, or at least on a reach. I'll show you that in a minute. So that's this race report, the daily report, I guess they call it. And I like them. I agree with Jody. Somebody ought to voice these things, as I just did here for you all. But it'd be nice. Let's go to the tracker. I have the tracker up, and if you look down here, this is ostensibly the leader, Holcomb PRB. I don't know if you can see that in the fine print.
You can see the number one.
Distance to finish, yada yada, and that's not to the end finish, but down to Cape Verde. This boat up here is 11th Hour Racing, position 2, and this is obviously the tracker, and back up here is Gibraltar, and these red boxes are exclusion zones that they cannot sail through. And if we zoom out on the tracker, You see the Med, and they're headed down for Cape Verde. They got another exclusion zone down there. And we'll keep an eye on all of that with and for you.
What are exclusion zones based on?
Oh, safety. It's, there's could be fishing traps. It could be rocks. It could be anchorage for container ships and so on.
Yeah.
Back on that for a sec. This tracker, I like the RORC's tracker, but this tracker's okay. And if you want to there's things you can superimpose on it like the wind, so that you can see they are reaching on the starboard tack, reaching with the breeze coming over their starboard or right side. And it's greenish, so they're in 15 knots of breeze now. Virtual regatta can be played if you go up to the upper left corner there. And so much for the tracker. Down here at the bottom, you can see there's number 1, number 2. And to Team Malizia, we're watching that. That's Boris Herman, a favorite of ours. We've been following that for some time, Julia.
Right.
So there's the tracker. We'll keep a look. We've upgraded our studio with you can see on this computer now, so that the tracker is yet another video source for us, which is good. Viva Mexico still in Almeria. How do you say that, Monica? She's the Spanish speaker. I wonder why they don't run into orcas too far south, Fritz Mueller asking. Clayton Embley saying, I would actually like to see these boats showcasing technology and the AC boat showcasing sailing ability, not to take anything away from any sailors. They're all very good. Yeah, Ted Ryman saying, yeah, some of those exclusion zones, Julia, are shipping lanes in and out of Gibraltar. Ken Saban says, if they break up, I'll fix them. He's the great boat hand.
Yeah.
And that he is. A couple other pictures here, and I like the picture actually that I used on today's cover slide.
I do too.
Did you like that?
Yeah.
Do you like this one better?
No, but I like it.
This is a great one. And this is the standings as of about an hour and a half ago. Maybe what time is it? UTC now. It's 21:47. So that's actually about 5 hours ago, almost 6 hours ago. And you can see that the top three, the IMOCAs are actually fairly close, all 5 of them. All 5, too bad there's not more. The VO65s are also fairly tight at the top, and then spreads out at Viva Mexico. Suspended racing, it says. So there was that comment from Monica Diaz, yeah. Okay, so that's the latest on the Ocean Race, TOR. I've managed not to call it that, and I'll try not to. Keep calling it the Ocean Race for today. And here's a bit of history for this day in history, apropos, really, where they're going to be when they go through the Southern Ocean after Cape Town. So what happened, Julia, on this day in history? 1773. Any idea? Of course not. Here's your first clue. That's an unreasonable question on my part. Who is that? You will know that. All the Kiwis, all the Antipodeans will know who that is, and some of the Europeans. Exactly, Julia. Well done. We use that picture on the show. They found Madagascar stingrays. Yeah, Viva Mexico's ripped their mainsail. Comments are coming. Yep, Graham Sweeney's got it. Captain Cook, who lived between 1728 and 1779 and died where, Julia?
In
your favorite state.
In Hawaii.
Exactly.
On the beach.
On the beach. Sonoma Beach. So Cook, of course, explored thousands of miles across largely uncharted areas of the globe, surveying, recording, and naming features for the first time. The guy was quite a Renaissance man, not just a sailor and leader and fundraiser, but a cartographer and so on. This included large parts of the Pacific, Australia, and, of course, New Zealand. He had a unique combination of seamanship, surveying, cartographic skills, physical courage, and leadership, but then you all knew that. He actually did 3 major voyages. Here they are in the 3 colors. I think the first was red, and maybe the first was blue, then the red, then the green one, and I think the red one was the finale. I can't remember. The second voyage, regardless, was the Green Line, apropos today's what happened on this day in history. Does anybody know? Pindar saying, good to have another North Yorkshireman on the show. So today, the monarchy was overthrown in 1893. Good call. We could have run that, David James, this day in history. Oh, they're back on Operation Desert Shield became Operation Desert Storm. Yeah, that's another issue. We'll try to stay out of American wars. 1772 to 75 was Captain Cook's second voyage, the Green Line. And do you see where the Green Line dipped below the Arctic Circle?
Mm-hmm.
You see that?
Yeah.
That's this line, I guess. I didn't check it, but it looks like he dipped below it here.
Yeah.
And then again a couple times here.
Yeah.
On his second voyage. And that Cook commanded the HMS Resolution on this voyage, while Tobias Furneaux, sounds French, commanded his companion ship, the HMS Adventure. Cook's expedition circumnavigated the globe at an extreme southern latitude, becoming one of the first, at least Europeans, but I don't know who else, but the first to cross, maybe of any ethnicity, to cross the Antarctic Circle on the 17th of January, this day in history, 1773. So that's what we're celebrating today. Captain Cook and his historic, I don't know if it's a discovery, but he did cross, it was an accomplishment, Antarctic Circle on this day in 1773. Julia, what do you think of that?
I'm impressed.
I am too. I like that. And apropos the round the world race, the ocean race, because I think they're excluded from going down there in the ice zone. They don't get that far south anymore, so we'll see. Somebody will know better than I. Cross the Antarctic Circle and returned. That's a good point, Clark Chapin. That is a good point.
Yes.
Harold V became the King of Norway following the death of his father, Olaf V, in 1991. Harold is a good friend. He's a terrific guy, and health isn't 100%, but now is the only president of honor since His Majesty King Constantine died.
Mm-hmm.
So Harold V is now the sole president of honor of world sailing, and a terrific sailor. Won the 1-ton cup, I think, here in San Francisco, in fact, way back when.
Mm-hmm.
That is King Harold V. I knew Olaf barely. He was president of honor when I first got to what was then IORU. Can I tell this? You can shake your finger at me. Can I tell this joke about standing at the urinal with King Olaf V?
Yeah, I suppose so.
So I'm standing at the urinal at the Institute of Directors in London.
Yeah.
And there were no guards on either side, just sitting there with your what
Never mind.
What did Prince Harry call it? His todger hanging out. Yeah. I said, "Oh, Your Majesty," and he looked over at me and he said, "Hey, Tom, just remember, I'm your king too," because being Norwegian.
Yeah.
I thought that was a pretty clever comment.
It was.
Huh?
It was.
It's almost as clever as Dennis Conner saying to my beloved mother, "We're going up the elevator."
I didn't know Tom had a mother.
Exactly. He called, to Dennis's credit. My mother thought it was terrific. I didn't think so much of it.
Yeah.
But Dennis called the next morning, first thing, and said, "Hey, I want to talk to your mom." Called in when we were all living in San Diego. Okay, I've told two. You can shake your fingers, Julie.
No, that's.
No, my first story was okay. I'm your king too.
Yeah.
Okay. King Harold V. He was a lovely guy.
Yeah.
He'd fall asleep at the meetings. He was getting on a bit.
Yeah.
At that point, but Harold is wonderful. His Majesty King Harold V. I won't tell you. The king asked Tom, "Why is your pee flow so weak?" No stingray. Now you can shake your finger at him. Shake your finger at him, Julia.
TMD.
Yeah. Dodger Illustrated rhyme in this thing. Okay. Let's go on now to the next big ocean race. It's the transatlantic that we've been covering. Thanks also to Andrew McIrvin, who's keeping us posted. It was, of course, from Lanzarote to not Guadeloupe, as I said more than once, but to Grenada. It started on Sunday, the 8th. And the tracker has been terrific. The RORC, using the yellow brick YB trackers, it's now called the yellow brick tracker, has been terrific. And I just want to say bravo Zulu to the RORC, to the boats that were first to finish in both the multi-hull and the mono-hull, because they broke the records, at least in the multi-hull. The RORC transatlantic race, the Maserati, what is it? It's not a Mod 70, it's the other 70, wins the multi-hull line honors. And remember, Andrew was, after he was on the show, what, a week ago today?
Mm.
Yeah, he was on a week ago today, and he was not quite headed for the airport, but then flying Wednesday or Thursday down to, not Guadalupe, Grenada.
Yes.
And he didn't think he was going to get there before Maserati finished, but indeed, because they did have a record-setting time, but he got there just about the time they were finishing on.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah, so he did do that, and Maserati did set the new multi-hull race record on Friday the 13th. They actually finished. Why we were talking about it during our show. I think they just finished.
Mm.
And Giovanni Soldini's Maserati Multi 70, that's what it's called, a Multi 70, not a Mod 70, took multi-hull line honors in the 2023 RORC Transatlantic race. Maserati's elapsed time sets a new multi-hull race record for the RORC Transat of 5 days, 5 hours, 46 minutes, smashing the previous record by just under 17 hours.
Well, that's terrific.
There's Jack Sangmeister. Hello, Jack. One of our Fozy John Sangmeister's 3.
And he knows it's a highly modified mod.
Yeah, he knows that because his dad had one of those
Right.
tries. KNS, the Royal Norwegian Club in Oslo, is a nice club. David James saying, yes, indeed. He's probably sailed over there with the, what's the fleet of boats here, Julia, out front?
Yeah, the NARS.
Canars, our class. So Bravo Zulu to them, to Maserati. Here's a nice video recapping their win.
To beat two teams so strong is an honor. I'm very, very happy. I'm very proud of my crew, and I think we do a really nice job. We do really the perfect race, and each time we had a problem, even big problem, we was on focus on solve the problem. I think we do a really nice job in all the point of view. In the strategic and navigation, the boat is really fast, and we was able to start again after also some big problems. Maybe we do it next year.
It was nice.
Nice video, wasn't it, Julia?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Kate, before we go any farther, now let's celebrate the crew, and then I'm going to get to you to do another finger wag. For the first time ever, we're going to do a finger wag at a female.
Uh-oh.
This is the crew. I don't know other than, I know Giovanni, but Guido, Matteo, Oliver, Francesco, Lucas, and Francesco. Bravo Zulu to them. They sailed a hell of a race. That guy, I mean, you got to admit that Giovanni Soldini looks like a sailor. He's got the character in his face is just, it's just, he has an astonishing face. We got to get him on the show. I wonder if we can get McIrvin, Mr. Dr. Andrew McIrvin, to help us get him on the show.
Oh, that'd be good.
And talk about his racing, because he is a character and he's terrific. There's Sean Hogan. Thanks, everyone. Have a regatta organized. See you next time. Thanks, Sean. So here is Andrew. He did get there, and on Friday, they after they'd been there, and this may have been even later than Friday, but he did organize a trophy presentation down there in the dock, the keeper, and then this is, I think, the perpetual for the line honors winner. And Bravo Zulu, and thanks again, Andrew, for sending us along some of these photos. And he is just, I don't need to tell you what a cool guy Andrew McIrvin is.
Absolutely.
And he's very popular, taking care of these maxi boats, whether multi-hulls, mono-hulls, whether RORC or IMA or whatever. And
he's an incredible amalgamator of boats and people.
Yeah, he is indeed. So the multi-hull, the second, was Frank Slootman. Now, he's from San Francisco. I don't know if he's a member of St. Francis Yacht Club or not. He was in the Pac 52 fleet for a while. Frank Slootman's Mod 70, so this one is a Mod 70, Snowflake. And they were second, Gavin Brady driving. And here's a little video about their race.
It was just about everything I expected it to be. It was tough, it was rough, it was really nice on board, great sensations, a bit difficult at times. but the crew did a fantastic work. They're a great team, great bunch of people. Most of the time, it's great fun. It's fantastic. It's an incredible ride. It was all downwind, 28, 30 knots. I saw 36. You just want to push it, and you never want to give it to the next guy. They always come up to you and say, "Do you want to switch? Are you okay?" "Yeah, go away from me." And you want to keep it because it's the best place on the boat, frankly. Oh, Maserati and Slovnac did a fantastic job. We were hoping to catch them, but we got caught up by some big clouds under which we got stuck. But they obviously did a fantastic race, and these two boats did extremely, extremely well.
Okay, well, that's a little more about the third place than about Snowflake. They mentioned Snowflake, obviously, in that video. But another great-looking character, I don't know him. We'll ask, I'm sure Andrew does. And did Fog Machine asking, did Slootman buy Orion? I think from Tom Siebel. I don't know that, Fog Machine. Jack saying, my dad says modern day piratas. One's German, one's Spanish. Piratas, German, and pirate in Espanol. I can't remember. Who cares? But back on this race, the monohulls have just finished today, the first monohull anyway, and I Love Poland we were expecting to finish first, line honors, and I think they're correcting first probably on IRC too, at least they are so far. But I Love Poland, the Polish National Foundation's Volvo 70, VO70, I Love Poland, skippered by Greg Baranowski, crossed the finish line outside Camper Nicholson's Port Louis Marina in Grenada on today, Tuesday the 17th, at 13:47. So what time is it there now? It's about Rio time, so 19, so 5 hours. So yeah, it would have been earlier this morning, about 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock our time. That I Love Poland have taken monohull line honors and win the IMA Transatlantic Race Trophy. Thanks, Joe Cool. Nice comment from you. Thank you, sir. Here is their group, and I have their names, which I'm not going to pronounce except by the first. Well, Greg Baranowski, and then Mateus and Arcadius, Adam, another Greg, Robert, Dominic, Pacific, Conrad, Boris, Bartosz Nowicki, I know him actually, Philip, Patrick, and Jakob. Bravo Zulu to them. Apparently they sailed a great race. And then we have the Jazzy, I'm reliably informed is how you pronounce this. This is the Freres, the Swan 115, whose owner I'm still not sure. I did some research on that this morning. Still don't know if that's a Russian or somebody else, but the name doesn't seem to be floating freely about. Maybe it's on the RORC website and I just didn't see it. But it had Ken Reed aboard the boat just for fun. And I've got that video of Ken from in port before they started, and he was talking about I Love Poland, which of course used to be his boat for the Round the World race. What was then I guess it was the Volvo. Have a look at this cool.
Well, one of the
video.
great byproducts of doing this race, and doing a race on a Swan 115 like Jazzy is special in its own right, but for me, equally as special is hanging out with my old boat here, Mar Mastro. So we did almost 60,000 miles on this boat in preparation for the Volvo Ocean race and then going around the world. And I was telling the guys here, I Love Poland, first of all, how proud of them I am and their success they've had and their sponsorship and what they do for their country. Well, one of the great byproducts of doing this race, and doing a race on a Swan 115 like Jazzy is special in its own right, but for me, equally as special is hanging out with my old boat here, Mar Mastro. So we did almost 60,000 miles on this boat in preparation for the Volvo Ocean race and then going around the world. And I was telling the guys here, I Love Poland, first of all, how proud of them I am and their success they've had and their sponsorship and what they do for their country. But at the same time, I'm proud of just how good a shape the boat is in. It just looks the same. It just feels the same. It looks the same. Sitting down below, I went down in my bunk. You know, it was just you get on the grinders, you get on the wheel, and everything feels the same. It feels like old home week. So it's been a very special time for me to be able to reconnect with what feels like a member of the family in a boat that I have a lot of affection for.
Okay, I'm sorry about cutting Ken off, but he's one of the world's nicest guys in the sailing department anyway. And hi, Pedro Foiling Sailor, welcome. But Kenny Reed, living in Newport, Rhode Island, longtime friend and also fellow hockey player, good hockey player, actually. So is his brother Brad, by the way. And that I thought was just a terrific video. This is a couple hours ago before showtime, and I could go look at it again. But I Love Poland has finished and did it in 8 days, 23 hours, 43 minutes, 25 seconds. Canada Ocean Racing was closing in. Somebody can check the website, see if, and they're having a hell of a good race. Bravo Zulu to them as well. There's a nice video, which was a little hard to understand, or I would have run it. And the boat Jazzy is still out there, 110 nautical miles, or at least they were a couple hours ago, going 12 knots, so they have not finished. Probably Canada Ocean Racing hasn't finished either, because they were only going 12, almost 13 knots, so you can see there. 13 knots, and they still had 7. This was, I think...
They were all going, man.
Yeah, and this is from a couple hours ago when I pulled that screen grab down. So, yeah, here it is. 12.7 knots with 76 nautical miles distance to finish is what DTF means. And Jazzy's making 12.5 knots. They had 110 miles to go. But right behind them, Black Pearl. So they have a pretty good race going on in that crowd in the monohulls, and we'll keep an eye on that. And thanks again to Andrew, Mr. Dr. Andrew McIrvin, Secretary General of the IMA, for helping keep us posted on that race. Another big event took place this weekend in Singapore was, of course, the first Asian Sail GP. It was last weekend, Saturday and Sunday. And we told you on the show Tuesday that New Zealand, or we told you the show Friday, I should say, that New Zealand had been docked 4 event points. Pete Burling was frustrated by the pre-event contact. We showed you the video. Won't bore you with that again, but they collided with a boat just in the pre-race contact. It was during the practice racing, and they were docked 4 points?
4 event points
and 2 season points.
Yeah.
New Zealand was found at fault for avoidable collision with the U.S. Jimmy Spittle's not done very well, including in this regard. During practice starts on Thursday and was docked points in SailGP's contact and damage policy. So you would have thought that maybe he was a bit under the gun, maybe, but it seemed to have fired up because he ended up winning. But we'll show you a video or two and show you how he won.
Welcome to Singapore as SailGP opens yet another frontier in Southeast Asia with its 8th event of Season 3. The city-state and its beautiful marina provide a spectacular backdrop to the race course off the southeast coast, just 137 kilometers or 85 miles from the equator. Alongside Lisa Darman and Emily Nagel and Stevie Morrison, I'm Todd Harris.
Not good incidents for New Zealand. Collision in the practice, -4 points before we even start racing. How costly is that going to be here in Singapore? Just 10 seconds to go. We're watching for the line to turn white. It's a slow speed walk to the start line, but still the timing will need to be inch perfect. USA look a touch early to my eye. Oh, they're over early on the US. New Zealand out of the middle of the line look good.
This is the umpires. OCS penalty USA. Over the line early.
USA need to drop behind the whole fleet at Mark 1. Disaster for Jimmy and his crew. It was a millimetres away from being perfect. But New Zealand, they've got to hull up. They turn the boat towards Mark 1. They're going to have a fast angle in, but can they roll over the top of Denmark and France before that Mark 1?
Remember, it's just 4 legs. It has been shortened because of the wind conditions. And Emily, if you're New Zealand, you could not have had a better start. Remember, they're trying to make up those 4 points they've already lost from the practice incident collision with the USA.
And they're now listening to Pete Burling. Voice of Blair Toot there. Let the wing flow. They're just desperately trying to encourage the breeze over those wings.
4 is the magic number today. 4 legs, 4-person crews. This is the first race. We are scheduled for at least 1 more, and then hopefully the conditions get better for tomorrow on Sunday. A slow pace, but it couldn't be better for the Kiwis. New Zealand wins the first race at the Singapore Sail Grand Prix.
Okay, I'm not going to keep going with this because it was look at, you can see how light it is. Dreadfully slow, dreadfully light. They're sailing with the big wings. Look at how big those wings are. And only 4 people. There was not a huge crowd, despite what they would like you to think. I'm not sure that this drew a big crowd, especially after the slow racing on Saturday. Unlike what went on in Alicante, there was a huge throng to send the boats off, as I said in the show notes at the top, but a little light on the shoreside viewing. And they're making the best of it. They're not foiling here, but at least the boats are fairly powered up. And as Stingray said, the Jimmy Spithill and co. had 2 OCSs, which means on-course side, meaning premature start. We used to call that. But you know why we don't call it premature start anymore?
No.
Because it abbreviated to PMS, premenstrual syndrome, so people didn't like that. So we changed it to OCS. No, not really. That's the joke. But back to the races here. So this went on. Jimmy also won a race, so you talk about inconsistency. So they had a beach club. They had a nice VIP set up. And I think this is Sunday. A little more breeze. But I'm not going to bore you with more of this. Let's get to the final 3. And you know who the final 3 were. And it's a cool finale.
Tom Slingsby, Australia, and Nikolai Sehested and Denmark. They are on for the final.
The course for the final race is 7 legs. The axis is 193.
More wind.
A lot more wind.
So Melanie Roberts, the race manager, letting us know there are 7 legs, which means there's plenty of wind. That means lots of wind and a wide open track.
How's your timing, Peter Burling? At the pole position. Watch for the line to turn white. Perfect start by all 3 boats. Sehested blasts out the middle of the line, but it should be New Zealand hanging on the inside, although it's going to be an absolute sprint into Mark 1. Can Sehested push hard enough to get over the top? Going to have to set up. It's going to need a bit of a dip. There's going to need to be a turn right at this mark, I imagine, Todd. Watch for the boats to set up. The wind's turned so much, they're going to be able to sail straight down the course. There you go, New Zealand. They read it first. They spin. Possibly lined up for gate 2 already.
33 kilometers an hour of breeze here. That is more wind than we have ever sailed with the 29-meter wings. Normally they max out at 18 kilometers an hour, so a lot of learning going on here as they figure out how to depower these wings.
A lot of learning at high speed. Look at the wind across the course now bumping over 30 kilometers an hour. It is New Zealand at gate number 2, then the Danes, and then Australia.
Up those, there you go, Slingsby. That was the play. He needed to, they've missed the manoeuvre. They've missed it. Bad manoeuvre on board Australia. That's meters out the window. Perfection from Denmark through the turn. Perfection from New Zealand, and that's going to be costly for Australia, and it's now a sprint up the course. Halfway point in the race here, and that's a big advantage. Look, 100 metres ahead. It was nearly a 70-metre gain on that last leg for New Zealand. That's ominous for the rest of these crews.
77.1 kilometers an hour top speed so far for this race. It's done by the Kiwis.
And who would have thought they'd be hitting those speeds on Friday when we were looking at the forecast? And here they are. And look at the distance. Over 250 meters, New Zealand way out in front. Leg 6 of 7, one more leg, and the Kiwis will take it all. So despite being down 4 points to start the regatta, it is New Zealand Sail GP that comes to Singapore and walks away with a victory.
Obviously to put it all together today, we thought we were in really good shape yesterday. We've been feeling really good, and the last couple of events about to bounce back with the win. It's just absolutely amazing feeling, and everyone did an amazing job. Everyone's been working super hard, and I think it just all came together today, which is pretty nice.
New Zealand moves on to 59 points. The Australians on 68. Great Britain now in 3rd, just 1 point clear of France, who fall out of the top 3. Remember, top 3 teams want to be there when they get to San Francisco, and that's the fight for the grand final. So they come into the event 4 points down, and here they are at the end of the day, the end of the weekend, as the champions. Once again, it's the Singapore Sail Grand Prix that goes the way of Peter Burling and New Zealand Sail GP. We'll see you in Australia.
We'll see you in Australia, and it was a nice victory there. Kiwis are hot, who said that? Stingray? Somebody said the Kiwis have been hot, and they have been. Bravo Zulu to Pete Burling and co., the NZL Sail GP team. 2 Finn sailors, John Emmett observing on that team. Yes, indeed. Mm-hmm. And he had a lot to say afterwards. He's already back in New Zealand. We'll show you that video in a minute with Emirates Team New Zealand. We'll keep chipping away was the headline at Australia's lead. Burling on the Kiwis' Singapore win. New Zealand driver Pete Burling, skipper, helmsman, but anything but driver, has promised to keep chipping away at Australia's lead after the Kiwis battled back from a 4-point penalty we told you about to win the first ever Singapore Sail Grand Prix. Burling commended his crew for, quote, putting together some amazing performances, unquote, across the weekend, finishing with a 1.523 fleet racing record in trouncing Nicholas Sehested, Denmark, and, of course, Tommy Slingsby's Australia in the 3-boat winner takes all finale. The dominating performance was all the more impressive considering the Kiwis started the event with a -4. Okay, we're talking about that. After colliding with the U.S., reflecting on the weekend, Burling said the victory was especially satisfying after starting on the back foot and racing into conditions we really don't like. Nice photo here with Slingsby in the background and obviously a container ship also in the background. Coming into this weekend on the back of those penalty points, how many times are we going to talk about that? And seeing the way the team came together under a bit of adversity is just super pleasing for us as a group and puts us in great stead coming into the mid-season. Well, pretty late in the season by now. He highlighted that New Zealand's win record against Australia in the final 3-boat race is now 3 from 3, 3-4-3 as we might have said, and pledged to, quote, keep chipping away at the Aussies' lead. We're now looking forward to trying to make the top 3 and then to try and be in our best possible shape going into that final here in San Francisco to win the season, he added. There are just 3 events remaining in Season 3. Australia, middle of next month, then New Zealand, the middle of the following month, and then San Francisco's all-important grand final in May. There are the standings. And you can see they are creeping up. NZ in second now, Great Britain in third. France having a disappointing regatta there in Singapore after having 3 good ones in a row. And Nikolai, did I call him Nicholas? Nikolai Sehested, Gordon Smith, you're right. Bravo Zulu to him and his Danish team. They're having a great season, doing a terrific job. So the next event is the 18th through the 19th of Feb. The KPMG Australian Sail GP in Sydney. Julia, you wanted to say something. Maybe you didn't.
I forgot.
Well, there's a lot of comments here. Alistair saying, I'll be there watching in Sydney. Maybe we can get Alistair to do some shoreside. Yeah. Maybe we can get him to do some shoreside reportage for us, Julia.
That'd be a good idea.
Stingray, both NZL and GBR, the defender and COR for AC37 Barcelona, are all in on Sail GP. Huge talent in this racing. Yep, good point. Alistair says, I hate driving too, and speeds in kilometers. Yeah, by the way, somebody had a post up there about kilometers per hour.
Yeah, 30.
It's 30 is like 16, not 20. It's 16 knots.
A bit under 20, it says.
Well, it's 16. Quite a bit under 20. It's 16 knots, just FYI. Julie Aarons, my guys are pretty good. John Emmett, 2 fins. Yeah, we mentioned all that. And Emmett saying in the position of Mark 1 is the position at the finish. Yeah, and I agree with Jody. The commentary was much better when Jody was doing the commentary. Much better. Now, I see that Commodore Pfaff, Ricky Pfaff, has joined us, Julia. That's
yes, I
nice.
saw that. It's terrific.
John Emmett saying, yeah, shame there was no overtaking in the finals. But now that we're through all of that, I don't know if there's any other comments on Sail GP. I want to go back now because, Julia, we have our first finger wag at a female.
Uh-oh.
I want to go back up to the comments here because we were talking about Prince Harry's Todger, and Julie Aarons said, I kid you not, she asks, tongue-in-cheek obviously, how did Captain Cook protect his Todger from frostbite? Julia, you've got to give her the finger wave to Julie Aarons.
Oh, yes.
How did he? Come on, Julie.
He didn't have to worry about it.
And then her next comment was, so, well, I'm bad. My bad.
My bad.
Okay, that was funny, Julie. Thank you very much. We do have some America's Cup reportage this time from AC-37, but this is one of those horrific spy videos. They're not horrific, but one of those disappointing spy videos. This is from our friend Roger Mills, who's been doing a lot of on the water. He's a professional video photographer, video photog down in Auckland. And he shot this video with some nice music behind it of Team New Zealand's first sail today, the 17th. Well, it's the 18th down there now, but on their Tuesday, the 17th, in Auckland in their prototype. A lot of good comments here. John Emmett saying these are really the next generation of performance. Can't wait for the real race.
Right.
David James likes the music. It's kind of Spanish sounding. I thought that was apropos Barcelona.
Yep.
Fog Machine saying, yeah, wow, even NZ's music is fast. No, I did not, Stingray. I did not say Todger Dalton. That would have been Roger Dalton of The Who. But I wouldn't say that about Mr. Dalton.
No.
And Julie Aarons, yes, you're in trouble now. Can't girls be naughty too? Well, anybody can be naughty.
Of course. I'm on your side.
I think it's good we had a finger wave, though, Julia.
Oh, but that was expected. But it was a friendly finger wave.
They're all friendly.
They are.
So yeah, these boats are cool. Look at the main. Talk about right down on the deck, a deck sweeper. Good stuff. First time they're sailing in 2023, and obviously Pete Burling's just gotten back from Sail GP. Very good, Tom. I got The Who. Well, I grew up with The Who. Roger Daltrey. Well, close enough. Clark, you know who we were talking about. Auckland is so beautiful. It is a shame the next cup is not there in the Hauraki Gulf.
Yes.
And Roger Mills, thank you very much for this video. It's so much more restful. Hoist the Jolly Todger. Yeah, his film company is hummingbirdvideophotos.com, photo singular.com, and I appreciate Roger Mills very much. That I was remiss, Julie. You didn't remind me, and I forgot
about the
coaches talking.
Coaches, yeah.
So let's talk about that for a sec. I don't know what everybody's views are, but apparently the coaches now, you can hear the radio, and they've got that little, I like the little beep beep. But the pit wall talks to the drivers, the pilots in Formula One. If you're a wrestler, the coach is practically telling the wrestler what to do on the mat. Pin his arm, pull his head, do your elbow in, do. Obviously, people are shouting from the sidelines of basketball games. I played hockey all my life, but I never could really hear what the coach was saying, even though coaches shout like crazy in hockey. But the players, the game's too fast and the players are too far away, although coach, it doesn't stop the coaches from shouting. And if I had my coach tell me to do something, I probably would do the opposite anyway. Just, Just. Julie Aaron saying, be patient. I'll see you there in 2028, meaning in New Zealand, she means. Yeah. Hoist the Jolly Todger, Graham Sweet. I don't know. What do you think? Is it good for Julia? Is it good for the coaches to be talking live? It is outside assistance. We have a long tradition in our sport that you don't have outside assistance.
Yeah, I mean, my pre-prejudice is that it's not a good idea.
Julie Aaron's saying that in tennis it can bring a penalty. Yes, well, except in team tennis, Julie Aaron's, in team tennis, they're allowed to coach. You know, this, I don't know if, is team tennis even still alive? It was a thing for a while, and there were teams from countries and coaches coached the teams between games or between sets, or were shouting stuff from the sideline. But yeah, if you're playing right now in the Australian Open and they think you're getting signals from your coach, let alone you know overt advice, you'd get penalized for sure. So is it a good idea? Is it correct or crutonic, or should we save that for the next show and put it in as a correct or crutonic? I don't see any comments. Here.
We'll do it correct or crutonic.
Okay, just another step by Sail GP away from the sport that the rest of us play and love. Thumbs down, Clark says.
Yeah.
Baseball is a concentrator. Yeah, they're signaling, though. Joe Holtzman, they're signaling from the third base coach who's getting signals from the dugout and from the first base coach. Davis Cup was team tennis. Okay, Julia. Okay, now it's all coming. Yeah. Ryman says it's correct. Fritz Mueller down in Miami saying it is outside assistance. There was a time that if you had a coach, you paid attention and took it to the race. It's the major thing that make a good sailor great reading the wind and then working onto the course. We don't want robots out there, Jody says.
I agree with him.
You agree with Jody? You always agree with Jody.
Almost always.
You have a soft place in your heart for him.
I do.
Just admit it.
Oh, that I do.
You like the Brits and you like the Aussies.
Well, it's a good start.
How about the Kiwis?
Of course.
Oh, of course. Coaching for sailing is crutonic, Thierry de Jong says. Well, obviously they're doing it for television. It's to give another element, Formula One type, meaning car racing type element. So you've got the pit wall talking to the pilots, the drivers. Now you got the coaches talking from the coach boat to the driver.
I'm so old school that I think that GPS is cheating.
Well, that's another issue, and a lot of people they have coaches in golf. Well, they have their caddies who are by way of coaches in some respects. We can't coach. We can't what? What's that little comment? We can't coach our juniors only after the race. So how is it legal for the big boys to do it? F1 has comms. Yeah, John Emmett. Yeah, we're all agreeing on that. I'd say that if they didn't have it, the audience would. Good point, Clark Chapin. If they didn't have it, the audience would miss it. I'm a Brit, Ryman says. Okay, so she likes you too, Ted, even though you're living in the RSA. Julie Aarons is with Julia, who's with Jody. What do you do if one set of the comms goes down? Good question, Clayton. Good question. Okay, enough of all that. We'll maybe run a corrector crutonic and get somebody on here to talk. Pedro Filing Sailor weighs in. Camel racing in Saudi Arabia has remote control jockeys. Is that true?
Probably so.
Is that? I don't believe that's true. I think Pedro just made a joke.
Golf isn't a sport.
Sorry? Say again?
Golf isn't a sport. It's an expensive stroll.
There's another one from Alistair. I don't like the constant team radio contact with all the cyclists that are going on. And of course, Alistair is a superb cyclist.
Yeah.
A lot of top sport has comms, John Emmett is saying. Yeah, okay. Well, is it correct in our sport? I don't know. We'll maybe run a corrector crutonic on that. I'm just getting a text from Andrew McIrvin. I better look at that to see what he has to say, don't you think?
Absolutely.
He is sending us a text saying it's a video. I could probably run it on this other monitor that I've got now, and it's probably, oh no, it's it's a joke. I got to show it to you. It's a joke. Harry, the laughingstock, will be remembered for his book as a joke. This is one of our late night TV hosts here in the U.S. Andrew's got, he's not fond of Harry, Prince Harry, and he sends us some good stuff. One last comment. SailGP and the AC are the Formula One of our sport. Good point. Gordon Smith made an off-color remark. As Mark Twain said, Clark Chapin is quoting Mark Twain. Golf is a good, oh, you said you read that. Yeah. It's a good walk. Spoiled.
Yeah.
Okay. Enough of all that, as we are an hour and 30 into this show today, show number, whatever the hell it is, 584?
Now, 1984.
Not 1984, 584.
Yeah.
Who wrote the book, 1984? George Orwell.
Orwell, yeah, God.
Famous book. A lot of people think we're doing 1984 again. Now, let's get into this last leg.
I love that picture.
Okay, one more comment. But, of course, no comms for the Opti fleet. A lot of comments rolling in now. John Emmett. Fritz Mueller replying to Alistair Murray, it has definitely impacted the sport in a negative way. As former bike racer, you are supposed to keep track of your team and competition. Yeah, well, again, it's George Orwell, Todger Orwell. Okay, enough on the Todger. We're going to have a Todger segment on it. He also wrote Animal Farm, yes, and a couple others.
Right.
Poor Harry is just not the sharpest knife in the drawer, Julie Ahrens is saying. Not the sharpest tool, speaking of Todgers, not the sharpest tool in the shed. Okay, you can wave your finger at me, Julia. You're not going to wave. It wasn't that long ago that the only communication between F1 teams and the driver was by the pit boards. Yeah, that's true, too.
What are pit boards?
Pit boards are signs that they lean over
from the pit, yeah.
Well, they lean over the pit, the wall.
Yeah.
And they hold up the position. They normally say what position you're in, how many seconds you are in the lead. Now that's all by radio, so they can capture it for TV.
Yeah.
But of course, it's a distraction for the driver too.
Yeah.
The drivers really don't like it. Okay, as I said, enough of all that. Let's get on to the final leg in this beautiful painting, the last leg to Gloucester by Thomas Hoyne. And in the last leg, we're going to do our Fosey Focus today. And our cool people, our Fosey to a person, our cool people. And I just want to say, thanks to this guy, Julie, you know who that is? One of our Fosey. He will be identified again in a moment. He sent along this. He said there's a cool book, Wooden Ships and Iron Men, The Maritime Art of Thomas Hoyne, this guy whose picture I was using for this segment, his painting. And that, again, is from our Fosey up in Scotland.
Is that Graham?
That is Graham. Yeah. He said, hi, Tom, that great painting you've shown recently, I think it's by this artist. It is by this artist. If you like his work, you'll love the book. I have always been a big fan of Grand Banks schooners and the Gloucester schooner fleet. I've sailed aboard Blue Nose too, lucky boy.
What fun.
Out of Lunenburg in Nova Scotia several times. She is a fine lady of the ocean. Anyway, the book has some great work, evocative of the times when working sail and brave sailors risked it all for a pocket of coins.
I love that.
Ryman identified Mr. Graham Sweeney. Yes. Yeah. Thanks, Graham. That was a terrific sentiment, I thought. And thank you. I did not know the book. I'll look for it. See if we can find that. Nice stuff. Graham Sweeney up in Scotland, GBR. Now, this final Fosey Focus, you know who that is, Julia? On his Interlake, the 18-foot boat sailing at Portage Yacht Club.
Oh.
Does this help? The President's Award in U.S. Sailing acknowledges Clark Chapin, our super Fosey, for his extraordinary contribution to reinventing our governance of U.S. sailing for the 21st century and providing advice of incalculable value to the U.S. sailing leadership. He was awarded the President's Award. It's a big deal.
How nice.
Clark said, I was on this a few weeks ago. I was honored and flattered to receive this U.S. Sailing's President's Award at the Portage Yacht Club. It's this time of year when the clubs are doing their annual awards dinners. This was on Friday, as I said a couple months ago now. It was made via Zoom by President Rich Jepson, who's from the Bay Area, and physically presented by Portage Yacht Club's Commodore Steve Wiseman. Bravo, Zulu Clark.
Oh, absolutely.
Really proud of you. Isn't that nice, Julia?
Yes, and he puts in so much work in that area.
He does.
And which isn't often acknowledged, but it's huge.
It is not. And congratulations, Stingrays, Clark Chapin, Clark Chapin, Gordon Smith saying Fritz Mueller, Bill Koch, if I'm right, has one of the finest collections of maritime art in the world. That is true, Fritz. Joe Holtzman, who knows Clark from 40 or maybe 50 years ago now. Joe was also at our club, Portage Yacht Club. Well done. Clayton Embley is saying, yep, bravo, Zulu Clark, nice stuff. David James, I have done a mention of Jim DeWitt, and we'll get through this week because we got another 8 bells here on Friday, as you probably know. Which, by the way, that 8 bells is at noon for Commodore Keefe, R.C. Keefe. And I think we should do a show and not go to the 8 bells. I was going to go to the 8 bells, but I think we can be represented there by proxy.
Okay.
And maybe do a segment on Commodore Keefe, who started the Big Boat Series here at St. Francis Yacht Club, as you know.
As I know.
1964. 5, I think, but whatever.
4.
Was it 4? You would know.
I was there.
Human Playground on Netflix second episode features remote controlled jockeys replacing young boys. Please don't wag your finger, Julie. Yeah, Clark, in the words of Jimmy Stewart, oh, shucks, ma'am, torrent. I think
nothing.
Torrent nothing. Okay. Clark, congratulations, Clark. That's a great honor. And he has worked so long and so hard and so cleverly.
And so well, yes.
Yeah, so well for U.S. Sailing, and he came in about the same time I did, which was in the 1970s. I was on the board, and Clark came in and has been helping chairing committees and councils and on the board on the various things for many years. Bravo Zulu Clark, terrific stuff. Gets us to the D segment here, and I only have 2, keeping it short today. And I resisted running a hairy one because I know that upsets Gordon Smith. As much as I like, giving Gordon Smith a little tweak every now and then. Whiskey Tango Foxtrot for today. Back in my day, now this is apropos the shortage, obviously. We got an egg shortage because of bird flu.
Yes.
Is it flu?
Yeah. Bird flu, yeah.
Not bird flu, bird something else. Back in my day, there was so much toilet paper and eggs that we would throw them at the houses of our enemies. Not today.
Yeah, no.
Well, the chickens are dying like crazy, and eggs are in short supply. I bought some eggs the other day, Julia, and they were $7 for a dozen.
I know. They come to $9 a dozen sometimes.
Well, John Emmett is saying pretty sure they threw the eggs that had gone off. Yeah, okay. Well, Gordon Smith, he appreciates the consideration, Julia, but that came from Jim Palmer, who is a good sailor down in SoCal. He sails on a boat called Amante, who's one of our competitors, one of our rivals down in our 50-foot crowd down in Newport Beach. There he is, Jim Palmer. Thanks for that, Jim.
Looks good.
And the second submission, I thought all of you would appreciate, came from one of our FOSI. The modest, sober, bone-dry hen, speaking of chickens, lays eggs for nogs, then dies at 10. All animals are strictly dry, meaning no alcohol. They sinless live and swiftly die. But sinful, ginful, I'm sorry, I should have started on the right. What the hell am I doing?
I was going to say, why are we doing that?
Well, because it was supposed to be a 2-slide thing, and I screwed up. Cheers, the horse and mule live 30 years and nothing know of wine or beers. The goat and sheep, they also die and never taste of scotch and rye. The cow drinks water by the ton, and at 18 years is mostly done without the aid of rum or gin. The dog at 15 cashes in. The fat in milk and water soaks, and then in 12...
The cat.
The cat! Thank you, Julia. In milk and water soaks, and then in 12 short years it croaks. Now the modest, sober, bone-dry hen lays eggs for nogs, then dies at 10. All animals are strictly dry. They sinless live and swiftly die. but sinful, ginful, rum-soaked men survive by 80 years and 10. And some of us, a mighty few, keep drinking till we're 92. I won't dedicate that to Jody or to anybody else in particular. But thanks, Scott Gordon, our Fozy here from St. Francis
That's a nice one.
who
Yeah.
sent that along. I'd never seen it.
It's a good one.
And that is at least symptomatic of the drinking show with a sailing
Yes.
habit.
That's a good one.
Huh?
That's a good one.
Thanks, Scott Gordon. Who, he's not a big drinker, is he? Scott Gordon likes to have a cocktail or two.
Yeah.
Our good friend at St. Francis Yacht Club, which gets us to the finish line for this one, for show 584. And again, the Rolex Sydney Hobart Yacht Race. We'll start to change some of these pictures up. Julia, your witness.
Yes. As John Emmett is ripe to remind us that please like, follow, and share.
Indeed, it does help, and it's much appreciated. We leave the comments open, and it's amazing how few Crutonic comments we get from people watching in replay, because people know the Prime Directive. I haven't said it in 2023, but I will. No name calling, no personal attacks, no coarse language. Act like a lady or a gentleman. And people do.
Yes.
All the Fozy do.
Yes.
And thanks also to the Fozy, because when you're reading through this, if you're watching the show in replay and you see a Crutonic comment, ping the person and tell them this is not permitted. Help us out, as many do.
Yes.
They do help us out. Much appreciated. Okay, and if you are so inclined, please help us out with $1 or $2 or $5 a month. Become a patron. And that is, of course, easily done at patreon.com/join/sailing illustrated. Julia, last thoughts?
I said at the beginning of the program that you have a new tag on the welcome page, which just gives a very simple way to find us.
It does?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's the Facebook and the
yes. And YouTube.
And YouTube, yeah.
Yeah, we're getting shared. We're getting shared more and more by those two platforms, as we get more and more people who are pinging us and leaving messages and so on. So
right.
We're not here to get rich. We're not here to get thousands of views.
Yes, we're here to get thousands of views.
Are we?
Sure.
Well, I'm not. I'm here to do a good show for the Fozy.
Yeah, but we went more. We wouldn't toss away.
Well, of course not. We appreciate everything we get. And thanks, Julie Ahrens. Thanks, Ted Ryman. Everybody else, Alan Embley, Clayton Alan Embley. Actually, this is one of the most respectful groups online. That is true. You go into the forums of a certain sailing website that we won't name, and I leave immediately, because it even if somebody brings up a good point,
yeah, it
devolves. It goes right down the gurgler. It goes right into name calling and calling each other idiots.
Yeah.
Personal attacks and so on. And I don't find that entertaining or good use of my time. Anything else, Julia?
No, I think not.
Ken Sabin saying we have 6 or 7 polar sailors coming to the States to sail DN Worlds next week, weather permitting. The DN is the world's most famous, the largest ice boat fleet. The Detroit News had the contest back in the 30s to design that boat. It's like the Opti. It can be built in your garage out of straight boards. Hard chines I don't know if chine is the right word in ice boats as well as in displacement boats or any waterborne boats. Good points are lost in profanity, Clayton. Yeah, that's true.
Yes.
Why use the word fudge when you could use the word something else? Thanks, Steve Adkins. See you Friday, everybody. We appreciate you all coming along. Have a great rest of your week. And in the meantime, if you can, hope you can, sail fast, sail safe, and have fun. Ciao for now.